Tyson laying off 1,200 workers after closing its pork factory in Perry, Iowa, only later to announce 52,000 jobs for migrants.
The company's excuse: migrants are getting the jobs that Americans don't want. A human resources executive for the company telling Bloomberg the migrants have been, quote, very loyal. They've been uprooted, and what they want is stability. What they want is a sense of belonging.
Let's bring in Fox and Friends Weekend co-host Pete Hegseth. Pete, good to see you.
Yes.
But again, lower wages, taking American jobs. This was the reason why Democrats were opposed to illegal immigration 10, 15, 25 years ago. But here it plays out. This costs Americans a livelihood.
That's true. It was also the reason why the Chamber of Commerce crowd of the Republican Party was so resistant to Donald Trump back in 2015, 2016, dependent on importing cheap labor. He said, we're going to build that wall. We're going to stop this. I'm going to put Americans first. Wages will rise as a result. And now you've got an inversion of that with the Democrat Party saying, come on in. And then we've heard glimpses of it, right? When Nancy Pelosi said, who else is going to pick our crops, right? I mean, that's their mindset. And the businesses are happy to do it when there's no e-verify or there's no consequences. And so cheaper labor for this business to produce a product. And it's not an easy job. You know, people that do those jobs, they're dirty, they're tough, but Americans should have the first shot, and they should have a good shot at a good wage.
And it's so dismissive, the language that they use, that Americans don't want these jobs. Really?
Americans had these jobs.
Right.
And they lost them.
Correct.
Exactly.
And if you thought about paying, if Americans are doing the jobs, they're going to raise the wages for the jobs too. That's all good for everybody. Yeah.
Shifting.
Hey, well, this is Zaccheus with another live word of the day. And I thank you for those tuning in for the first time. Thank you for tuning in for the first time. And those who've been consistently supporting me, I thank you as well. Well, I just shared a news clip about in Iowa, what's going on in Iowa, in Perry, Iowa. And Tyson Food Company is by June, is about to let go of thousands of workers, American workers, to hire 52,000 migrants. But the plan is to pay them low wages. Now, the reason why I have former President Donald Trump here is because under his watch, I don't believe he will do that. I don't believe it will go down like that. Now, don't get me wrong. Republicans and Democrats, they're just alike. They believe in paying low wages. Don't get it twisted. They believe in paying low wages to any workers. But the migrants coming in, when the migrants get hired by Food Tyson, that's the plan, to pay them lower wages than what they usually pay Americans. So they don't mind, in the name of inflation, laying off thousands of Americans to hire migrants for low wages. That's the plan. And President Joe Biden, is seeing all these things unravel. When you hear about thousands of Americans getting laid off, and now they're putting migrants in the place of their jobs, that's when you're supposed to take action and say, no, I got to provide for these citizens too as well. Nothing wrong with helping the migrants. They come here for a living. As a migrant, I came here for a living, came here for opportunity, and came here to just have great opportunity to make income and to make money, and hopefully send back money to people that's back home, so I can build my family here and continue to support my family. Nothing wrong with that. But when you take away jobs, you give out billions of dollars, let's say, all that money to other countries, and you also go to the major cities and tell them, like Eric Adams said, listen, I'm going to provide migrants with debit cards and to fund their groceries. But yet, the homeless population is off the roof. Inflation is off the roof. And you're not doing nothing for the people that's been here, that helped run the country. Something is wrong with that. And of course, help everyone, help as much people as possible. The migrants want to come and work. They want to work. But the thing is that they're going to pay them cheap labor. They're going to come, and the whole plot of the Democratic bringing them in here is to make them become Republicans, but they will pay them with cheap labor is what I just shared earlier in the news clip when it talks about Ira Perry in the food company, Tyson Food Company, laying off Americans, because if they give the migrants the job, it's going to be lower wages than what the Americans that have been working there get, of course. So that's the whole plot, and that's the motto: hire more, pay low. So when you pay people low, they become complacent and they can't keep up with their bills. There's a whole scam with this thing. They can't keep up with their bills. They cannot keep up with the high cost of living because they're struggling to pay their bills, and they're struggling to pay their bills, and it brings stress to the household. But this is what the whole model of the Joe Biden administration want to do. They want to bring more migrants in to allow them to become Democratic, to let them run, in a Democratic party, so they become Democrats or Democrats. Oh yes. So that's the whole plot. And the migrants, yes, here to work very hard, and they're hard workers. Don't mind being hard workers, but pay me what I'm worth. Don't let me work so hard, then when I get my check, it's not enough for me to feed my family. And that's been the complaint of many Americans working. Can't afford to put food on the table because they live in check to check. And it's tough, and it's a struggle. But yet you want to lay off so many people. And that's why we lean on God to seek victory. Lord, help us see victory. If we're trusting and we're praying, God, help us to see victory. We lean on Jesus to see victory in our lives. And I pray for victory every day. That's why we lean on God to seek victory. Lord, help us see victory. If we're and as many of us walk around when the inflation is here, and we're just trying to find different ways of making income so we can support ourselves and support our family. And the living check to check method is not working, so we got to go out and get more. And then when we get laid off, now we're stuck. We're in a rut. And according to the sources, the final total of layoffs in last year ended up in being 262,735 according to the layoff fine. Tech layoffs conducted in 2023 were 59% higher than 2022's total according to the data and the tracker. And in 2024 is off to a rough start despite not reaching the peak of last year's first quarter cutbacks. So more and more, the more and more Americans are getting laid off. More and more Americans are getting laid off. As you can see, as each year comes, the more and more layoffs is coming. And what they're going to be doing is cheap labor. They're going to be putting migrants. It's not over yet. You think Tyson Food is the news that you're hearing, the end news that you're hearing. But no, this is continuing, folks. So we got to wake up. This is going to continue.
Fallout from the closure of the Tyson pork plant in Peary could leave some without jobs indefinitely. KCCI's Pepper Papura spoke with a family that says they need the government to take action or else they may lose their home.
The Fidel family came to Iowa in 2019 as refugees. Their home in the Democratic Republic of Congo was overrun by a war. But 5 years later, they've lived out the American dream, finding work at the Tyson pork plant, buying a home in Urbandale. But on Monday, all of that came crashing down.
When they got the news, everybody was crying. What are we going to do? How are we going to be able to pay our mortgage?
The Fidel family living in a state of panic Ever since finding out on Monday, Misago Fidel would be one of almost 1,300 people losing his job at the Tyson pork plant in Perry come June.
We don't know what happened.
Job fairs in Perry are underway, and Tyson Foods is encouraging people to apply for other open roles at the company. But it's not that easy for Fidel.
Everywhere we go to ask them for green card before they can even apply.
Fidel says, like many other refugees, his caseworker got him the job at Tyson. Hiring him was legal since Fidel is a refugee and was new to the country at the time. He's since applied for a green card, but a backlog of applications since COVID is causing a delay.
They've been almost for 5 years here and they still don't have green card yet.
Data from the federal government shows about 4.5 million cases in the backlog as of August. The U.S. says the backlog was reduced last year, but the Fidels are still waiting.
Tyson was to some people, the live wire.
Eric Idahan and the Genesis Youth Foundation are helping dozens of people like the Fidels, but say their fate is ultimately up to the government.
We were very resilient. We tried to support each other. But at the same time, there are certain things you need extra help to get done.
That was our Pepper Purpura reporting. Genesis will host a community meeting at the Johnston Library on Wednesday to discuss the next steps for refugee families like the Fidels. All out from the closure of the Tyson pork plant.
Yeah, so the man came. The last news clip I shared was when the man came from the Republic of Congo, from Africa, with his wife a few years ago, and he worked for Tyson in Perry, in Iowa, Perry, in America, and as you can see, more and more people are getting laid off. So it becomes a struggle. It becomes a burden and a stress in you and your family, because when no income comes in, it's a burden and a stress. And when you get low income, now you got to battle with no income to low income. But when you have no income, it's more of a stress. You have some income, maybe you can work with some income and maybe build more income on top of that. But when you have no income, it's a stress. And when you're laid off, now you don't know where to turn. Now the man from the Republic of Congo don't know where to turn. And then just to get in back to, let's say if he wants to get hired, you got to show proof of this. Because he's a refugee, you got to show proof of that. Even for some Americans, you gotta prove yourself. Let's just in case you're laid off. Now to get hired again, you gotta prove yourself that you gotta build up a resume and you gotta hunt around. Not easy looking for a job because now you gotta hunt around. And the bills are not waiting for you to get a job. They come now. Your kids are hungry now. To see hear the stomach growling? The stomachs are growling now. Your children's stomachs are growling now. You hear? You gotta provide food on the table. Shelter over your head. Heat for your house if you live in a cold state. And it's a struggle. It's a struggle. So I ask God to just continue to provide for me and my family. And that's all you gotta do is pray and ask God to continue to provide. The Bible says I've been young, I've been old, but I never see a seed or the righteous begging for bread. And we gotta believe that. We gotta walk in faith and trust God in these trying times. You gotta trust Him in these trying times. Now the live word today is coming out of Proverbs 14:21. Whosoever oppresses a poor man insults his maker, God. But he who is generous to the needy honors him. So if you give into the poor and you're trying to find a way so people won't lose their income to feed their families, God honors that because you're coming with a pure heart, a clean heart. But when you gotta lay people off, by the thousands, don't care if they have to feed their families, don't care if they have to provide shelter over their family's head. No, you become an oppressor. Now you become an oppressor, and now you apply stress to that family's household. So it's always good, especially if you're the 1%. I know 1% probably not even listen to my video. If you're a 1%, meaning the rich, always try to help other people out. Always strive. There's some that do it and some that don't. Some just pocket their money. They just care about themselves. They don't care about you. So we got to trust God and ask God to open doors for us, to provide for our families, and ask God to show us ways how we can make income for ourselves. So we have to depend on this system to keep providing for us. Well, this is Zaccheus with another live word of the day. God bless and be safe out there. Peace and blessings. Thanks for tuning in. Until next time.